Okay, in this lesson what we're going to do is start going through and looking at the player lives. So when our player gets destroyed, we're going to start removing a life every time that our health meter reaches 0. And we've already gone through, showed how our ship can get destroyed, so we're going to play that. If our lives get down to 0, then we're going to go to the game over, and also we'll go in here and start dealing with the scoring. So let's go in and get started with that. So first thing I want to do is come up to the top and let's deal with the scoring first. So I'm just going to come after the speed here, and I'm going to create a variable called score. This is going to be a number, and it is going to equal 0 to start. Coming down into our game loop where we got update score value, we're going to come in and add some code. So our score field dot text, because we're dealing with a text field, is going to equal string parentheses double quote score space, or actually let's put score colon space double quote plus score. That's going to come in and update the score over and over again. Now it's coming back down into our move bullets for actually the move enemy, where we have add to the score. I'm just going to come in here and say score plus equal 10. So every time I kill a enemy ship, I'm going to add 10 to the score. So let's go ahead and test this real quick. Make sure that it's working. So you can see my score field started out at 0, now it's 10. Each time I destroy a ship, it's adding up. Okay, so now with that, let's go through and start dealing with the player lives. So how many lives do we want our player to have? Well, on the screen I got 3 lives out here. So coming up to the top again, let's create a variable called lives. This is going to be a number, and it is going to equal 3 to start with. So with that, let's come down into our game loop. So in our game loop, I'm going to do this after everything, and right down here at the bottom of our game loop, we're going to start checking. I'm going to say if my ship health dot scale x is less than 0 and my lives is greater than a -1. I'm going to tell my ship destroy to equal true. So that means my health has reached 0. My ship needs to be destroyed. So I'm going to tell my ship to go to and play. Make sure we spell that. Play the destroy. So my ship gets destroyed. I'm going to take my ship health dot scale x. Let's make that equal to 1, so it goes back up to 100%. I'm going to take my lives and just say minus minus. So subtract 1 from the lives. Okay. Going right after this, I'm going to say else if my lives double equal sign 0. What do I want to do? Well, again, I want to tell my ship that go to and play destroy. I'm going to call a function called cleanup. Our cleanup is basically going to go through and remove everything from the stage except our player ship. And then we also need to go through and remove all the event listeners that we have. So I'm just going to scroll up here. You can see we got 3 event listeners. I'm going to copy these. Let's come back down. Let's paste those in there. Just going to tab these in to straighten things out. And where we have add event listener, I'm going to say remove that event listener. Let's copy that and paste those over here. So we're going to remove all of these event listeners. Then we're going to go to and stop at frame 1 of our game over scene. Remember that with our game over scene, that it needs to be spelled exactly the same as we created that scene. Okay. Now, since this is not going to be the last line of code within my game loop, I'm going to tell it to return. What return does is basically returns back to the calling event. So it's going to return back up here, game loops over, go to the other scene. Don't continue on any other code. If we don't have this return in here, what would happen is it would try to go to and stop on this game over scene, but it would still try to run through the rest of this game loop code one last time, even though we told it to remove, until it hits the end of that function. Okay, so by returning, it's automatically going to skip the rest of this code because it's not needed. So coming down, we're going to check if our ship.currentLabel equals killed. We want our ship to go to and stop at the good. I want to tell my ship destroy to equal false. And then we're going to position our ship on the X back to the beginning. So just taking our ship and bringing it back over here to the beginning area. So I'm going to set it to about 35. I'm going to tell my ship.y to equal 300. That's the center of the stage. Coming after this, I'm going to do a switch case on my lives. What a switch case is, it's just like going through and saying if, else if, else if. But I'm doing a switch on a variable and then the case is looking at the value of that variable. And that's a semicolon, or a colon, not a semicolon. And then if lives equals 0, what do you want? I want to tell my life1 dot visible, and let's make this lowercase, to equal false. And let's break out of that. Basically, I'm just going to copy this. Let's go down, change that to number 1, number 2. Change this to number 2, number 3. Okay, so let's check our syntax. We're doing good. Let's test this. Okay, let's play. Let's go through. We're adding to our score. Let's kill a couple of guys. 1 ship gone. Reset back to the starting point. Two ships gone. Reset back to the starting point. 3 ships gone. And we got an error. Cleanup is not defined. Well, we have not defined cleanup. We'll do that at the end of everything to make sure that everything is working. So I'm just going to come up here to cleanup. Let's comment that out. And it would go to the game over scene. We'll also need to go into the game over scene and make sure our score displays inside there. And we'll do that in another video coming up later on. So with that, we're going to end this video. And in our next video, we're going to start looking at adding the rocks or the asteroids out there. And if we shoot certain asteroids, we're going to get a power-up that will give us shields. You could also take that, add more health back in, add lives, things like that. So we'll see you in the next video.